G'day Hawks fans, I'm here tonight with a special guest from a podcast called Lace Out. So if you haven't heard him, check it out. But I've got Chris Peps, and it's normally Peps and Jamie that do Lace Out. So tonight we've got a special show. We're looking at the 2021 season with Peps' help. He's gone a la podcast, and you can check it out. He'll tell you all about that. But we're just going to enjoy the night and have a bit of a conversation about the Hawks season that is to come. Without further ado, I welcome you, Chris Peps, to Talking Hawks.
And I'm absolutely proud to be here, Matty. This is a long time coming, and I love talking about footy, but I absolutely love talking about the Hawks as well too. One of my close to my chest after all the challenges your club has given me over the years, being a very tragic Melbourne supporter. But I'm rapt to talk about your club and how it's looking for season 2021.
Brilliant, mate. Tell us a little bit about Lace Out.
Oh, it simply started pretty much like most podcasts. We just love our great game, and we decided to talk about footy. And so myself and my co-host, the J-Dog, Jamie Wallace, we're live every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on our Facebook page, just Lace Out Podcast. But we just, and obviously then we convert that to a normal podcast that can get on Spotify and iTunes. But we just decided to talk about footy from a football followers' perspective. Just like you guys, we love it. We've been going. This is our fourth season. And it's pretty much how we wanted our footy. We wanted it Lace Out, and that's where the name came from. Pretty much how I delivered football for over 377 games at the East Keilor Football Club to forwards all around the league too. But
the pump up, there it is.
Pump up. Look, that's what it's all. Look, it's just we love it. We've been doing it, and it's all about the fans. It's about your listeners. It's about our listeners. It's the community out there, because without the fans, the game wouldn't be where it is right now. And especially after a challenging year like last year, the fans have stuck by the game, and we're all better for it.
That's brilliant. I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and I think it's probably fair to say you're footy nuts, you guys. And it's great. It's great. You know, these guys, if you're interested in the game, check out some of their podcasts. Subscribe. Where would they do that, Peps?
Oh, Spotify. So just look up Lace Out. Just look for the footy, red footy, green background. You can't miss it. iTunes, podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're all good podcasts are sold. You can find us. And if you can't find us, jump on the Lace Out Facebook page, and it just says it's how you want your footy, and you can go on from there too. But look, listen, drop past. If you want an all-round view of football, hey, it might not all be accurate at times, but we just talk about the great game. Get on the chat at 8 p.m. Be part of the show. But I'll tell you what, you've got a good one here with Talking Hawks, because these guys love their club and they love you as their supporters as well too. So stick by them. You're definitely on the right one there.
Thanks, Peps. Well, we've just got off a podcast with yourself, so you've taken us into podcast land now, Talking Hawks. So thank you, and mate, we're in for a good chat here. So let's go.
Let's go for it. Welcome, listeners. It's Peps here from Lace Out, and today we have your 2021 Hawthorn season preview. Will it be the year that the Hawks swoop into the final eight, or once again will their wings be clipped and hit another bottom four position? We'll talk about this and so much more. And you know what? We have got the expert when it comes to the Hawks. There's only one man that I could go to, and that's Matt from Talking Hawks. Matt, welcome to Lace Out.
G'day, Peps. How you going, mate?
Mate, I am pumped. I'm excited for the Hawks. Your mob has given me so much grief over the years. I just know that when I have a bad day, I can throw on the 2018 semi-final, get a little bit of relief. But I've got Hawthorn supporters who have known me for many, many years. I've got BGs, I've got Leigh, two of my closest friends who constantly remind me of the success that you've had. So I'm rapt to talk about it, because it's nice to see the Hawks have a little bit of a lull last year, but things might change for 2021. I do have to ask you with one question, though, and it's simply this. After a 5-year premiership drought, how are you handling it? Is it difficult when you haven't won a flag in 5 years, having a drought, lack of success? Is that hard to overcome?
Mate, you've nailed it right there. And all of the Hawks fans, all the faithful that are listening, they will know what I'm talking about. You actually pick yourself up off the floor. You don't know what's going on. You're a bit dizzy when you don't make finals. My kids don't know what's happening when the Hawks don't make finals. So it just doesn't feel like football.
Yeah, well, my kids being Melbourne supporters, not by choice, let's be honest. They've seen one final series and that's it. So fingers crossed. So look, we are jealous of you. And I think a lot of clubs out there are jealous of you. So when we see the Hawks finishing 2020 in 15th position with a 5-12 record and a percentage of 84.9, we're not exactly like feeling for you. It's like, okay, you can feel what we've gone through. How did you guys react after it? How did you get over such a interesting season last year? How do you think the Hawks went in 2020?
For those that listen to us or tune into our live stream, Talking Hawks, which is on YouTube and Facebook, has been Twitter, soon to be pulled the pin.
Nice plug.
We found it quite cathartic. I think when the tribal aspect of going to the footy, we couldn't go there. It was a nice way to connect with fans, and that's a little bit what Talking Hawks is about and what it's formed around. So last year though, Peps, 2020, I think we showed a little bit of promise, albeit it was against a weakened Brisbane and Tigers team that we won in the first 4 rounds when we were at the lovely MCG, and then lockdown. So it's an interesting year, and hearing, in hindsight that, Clarko, and I think the fans still had confidence with a nice beginning, that we were going to continue. But it seems that lockdown was better for younger teams. And I guess the fellas that perhaps didn't have the families and being messed around from their normal routine and whatnot, it was a bit of the adventure for the young bucks. So probably in hindsight, you think, oh, well, we were wrong there. We thought our older players would be stable, but just different impacts. So anyway, we've ended the year where we did. We've got some good draft picks, and I think we look forward now. So bit of a weird year.
We could have a bit. Let's do a bit of a summary here, because there's been plenty of things going on. And you mentioned that you won 380 your first 4. It's like, hello, Hawks. And then 2 out of the last 2 out of the last 13 out of that. So you're thinking you're going to go on a high and then smash it down. You get towards the end of the season, Isaac Smith goes, which I'm interested to find a little bit about that. You bring in Kyle Hardigan, you bring in Tom Phillips, who I am shattered the D's didn't go after, because I reckon he is an absolute jet, and Collingwood are going to spit chips what he does for you guys this year. Yep. Jack Gunston, my goodness, it's finally nice. You know when a guy wins a BNF and you go, you know what, you've deserved one for a while. He deserved one, and so finally he gets his rewards. Peter Crimmins medalist. Tommy Mitchell, the Chad, come third. And then obviously you got Big Boy McAvoy. Funny enough, I spent a couple of years playing with Big Boy's brother, Stretch McAvoy.
It's in the genes. So we've got Stretch.
He's a massive unit as well.
I love that.
Football skills a little bit different to his brother. Mm-hmm. But bit of a difference. Ricky Henderson retires. The Poppy retires. One close to my heart, Tom Scully. It's good to see also that you're rocking, for the people who can't see this, Matt's actually rocking the Tom Scully haircut today. He's got the short back and sides, very crisp. I'm tipping yours probably maybe cost a little bit more than what Tom Scully could afford, old money bags. Your captain, Ben Stratton, and Connor Glass goes as well too. And then if you throw that in, you also can say that Adamuzo from the coaching panel goes over to the D's. Scotty Burns leaves as well. And also Damien Carroll has gone as well too. So there's been a lot of shake-up at the club, probably more than maybe you could almost say the last 10 years, except for Mitchell, Hodge, etc., Lewis. That's a lot of people.
I pulled on the boots in my 20s again, and actually was under DC, Damien Carroll. So he's a top guy. Yeah. Anyway, so, off to the Pies, and wishing you well. Yeah, to Collingwood. So great. It was sad because of the salary cap overall. I was listening to, actually went to a Hawks in Business luncheon just this week, and Gil McLaughlin, Jeff Kennett speaking, and it was roughly a third, the cuts to the old salary cap. And, sadly, there's some great people that had to, for all clubs, find alternates. So, there's some great talent the Hawthorns had, and we've been farming them out, growing them and farming them out for years to the AFL and all the other teams. So
if you did a family tree of where coaches have gone from under Clarko, and he's into his 17th year, that is
Yeah.
That's massive. I'm not too sure when he's either going to finish up completely or he'd have to go to a club either North or Melbourne. They're the only two clubs I could see him going to for the simple fact that, he's had a bit of history with them. But 17 years, 4 flags, a couple of losses, prelims galore. Like, what is it about this guy that just seems to generate success? Because if you looked at him and lined him up, you'd think Alistair Clarkson when he first came on board. I'm tipping there was a few eyes being rolled.
You said a couple of losses there, just one in terms of grannies, but 2012, that one hurt. But yeah, look, he's a bit of an enigma, Clarko. I think he still enjoys it. He finds the passion. He's able to connect with the people, try and bring the best out of everyone. He's had some great people around him over the journey that have helped make, it's not about one coach, but obviously, tapping into the brains trust of those that he puts around him. And I think like Sheedy, he's been able to keep reinventing himself, and even just seeing Clarko mellow a little bit, probably maybe these last 3 years, I think age and experience, and I think he's probably playing a different role. I think he's becoming ambassadorial for the game, for the sport. And I think we copped a whack last year when he made a comment around the umps, and I reckon the next 6 rounds, we just got about, 2 free kicks. But
I noticed that the hashtag free kick Hawthorn was not trending on Twitter for the first time in probably 20 years.
Anyway, yeah. So look, he's an amazing fellow, and we've been very fortunate to have him as a servant of the club.
Oh, he is sensational. If you go and speak to Ian Aitken, he might have a different word to say about Clarko after the Battle of Britain, but I think a lot of water has passed on the bridge by now. So, but yeah, he just keeps reinventing himself, and I think one of the things that I appreciated about Clarko, and this is going back a while ago, and hopefully he still does it, is that he wrote a letter to, I think, virtually every draftee to welcome them into the league. I remember him saying that quite a long time ago. I hope that he still does it, because
I've missed that. That's a great pickup.
That's the mark of a man, that he goes ahead and does that. I think that's just, and it wouldn't surprise me if he does. If he can sit behind a guitar and strum it like he did for Silk Burgoyne, it doesn't surprise me if he's going to do something like that.
Yeah, he puts himself out there. I was fortunate. I was hiking down the peninsula with my wife, and we coming back. Well, yeah, woken up a sweat, bumped into one Mr. and Mrs. Clarkson, I think maybe a few of his boys in tow. And so my wife's just done a double take, and, that familiar face, and she's gone, oh, and I was going, Clarko.
Is she a Hawthorn supporter as well?
Of course. Oh, the man's got good taste on this
side. My wife's
so.
Essendon. Not good around here at times. The kids have no excuse. They got Melbourne, or they can go live somewhere else. But he just seems to be a pretty genuine bloke who wears his heart on his sleeve and can manipulate the media as anyone can. So you're very, very lucky to have him. So
he stops to give everyone the time of day. So anyway,
he gave you the time of day?
He did. And Mrs. Clarkson said, I told him a little bit about Talking Hawks. She said, gee, maybe you boys should have been in the hub with us to keep the optimism. Anyway, that's part of what we do on Talking Hawks.
You know what? And we're trying to get somebody, I'll be honest, we are trying to get somebody who was up there at Hub Life, because we want to know what the inside word on Hub Life is. And so if it does, we'll let you all know on Lace Out when this happens. But let's have a look at 2021. Okay. One thing that you have on your side is that according to Champion Data, now we do take Champion Data with a grain of salt. This is the same mob that said Mason Cox was an elite player, and we've all fallen over laughing with that. I think Even did too. Is that you got the 14th hardest draw. You only play Richmond, Melbourne, Fremantle, Essendon, and Adelaide twice. So that's not a bad mix at all. I think maybe outside of Richmond, you probably could win most of those. So that's a nice little double up that you could be handy for. Your draftees, you've picked up an absolute belter. The hyphen, Denver Grainger-Barras at number 4. You got Seamus Mitchell. I mentioned this to you. How many Mitchells do you want at this club? Like, seriously, it's the Jack of any other. It's like the Jack of St Kilda. It's the Mitchells.
And ironically, we got Mitchell when he went to West Coast, I think, as part of that draft, or that exchange. We ended up getting the pick that got Mitchell in the door. So anyway.
At 29.
Random fact.
You
Yes.
got Connor Downey at 35, Tyler Brockman at 46, and then in the rookie draft, you've got Jack Saunders as well too. So from what you know, and the crop that's come in, what's your sort of feeling? What have you heard? You mentioned something to me about the hyphen himself a little bit earlier on as well.
Yes, Denver Grainger-Barras. I think he went at pick 6. You'll find we had 4, but after things got shuffled a little. But
Good to see AFL.com.au providing accurate statistics on their site again.
and look, Denver may hear this along the way. I've tried to very respectfully not fanboy too much, stalk him, but I didn't say that. Denver is a player that we've been fortunate enough to talk to the club about. We saw his Cal Toomey, it was AFL. It's on talkinghawks.com if you want to check it out. A video where it was a pre-draft, and you listen to this young man talk. Very grounded, quite intelligent, high emotional quotient aware. I think he's very giving. Worked at Bunnings last year. Just not afraid to, he's just honest. And but he's a competitor, and you can hear his mindset if you listen to the video of Cal Toomey on talkinghawks.com. We've got there the opportunity to hear a young man say, I've worked that hard and I owe it to both myself and my family getting into an AFL team. And he's humble when he says this. Would be great and just the beginning, but he does want to set himself to be the best player in the AFL. And now, tall poppy syndrome Australians, we generally don't have athletes, perhaps like America, that come out and say things like that. But if you take the time to listen to this young fella, I'm very excited with him as a prospect for us, because he's in the waffle where he was playing with men and a very good league over there, the waffle. He was just carving it up some games. He had a little bit of injury, but he's come through nicely. Just reads the flight very well. He's off half back, just roaming and, owning the airways. So I think, and then he's come into the club and he's been mentored by none other than Sicily, who probably, bar a knee injury last year, would have been probably our BNF and probably right up there for, I think he would have been recognised on a lot of different fronts. So shame for Sis, but lovely that Denver's, the DGB train, we're saying, get on it. We're going to pump his tyres up this whole season on Talking Hawks. So follow us there and watching him closely through Box Hill and whatnot. But
there's a guy that you just mentioned, James Sicily. Look, I reckon there's 17 other clubs that think this guy's a complete knob. Yet when I watch him play, I would love to have him in my team. He's got a bit of Milne about him, if you know what I mean. A bit of Toby Green, where he is just, oh my God, he looks like a complete tool, but he just wears his heart on his sleeve, and you just want to be part of it. I'd love to remember one other, and I reckon I've come to embrace him a little bit more over the last couple of years as well. Tell me what the Hawks think about good old Sis.
Oh, Sicily, just much loved, and to those of the ilk that have watched a young green booted, blonde haired fella strutting his stuff in the 80s, probably see a bit of Derm about a bit of white line, and I think the young man is maturing very nicely. Sicily, I think he's 24 years of age, and I think now he's really starting to come into his own in this last year or two, and understanding where every player tries to get, every opposition tries to get in his grill, and he's just managing that a lot better. And I think probably with the team we've got around him now, he's going to be a leader, and those that can, just take a bit of heat off, because he doesn't have to be the man as much. So I'm looking forward to maybe late this year we'll get Sicily back on the park, but look, don't rush him. He's worth his weight in gold.
Well, he's only 26. It might come back. If he does come back sometime this year, he's still going to be in that 26 range, which is cherry ripe. Do you prefer him forward or back? I have my opinion. I'd have him down back. Where would you prefer him?
If we've got the depth, I love him up forward, because every time he goes up there, do you know what? Clunk. He takes a mark and he's kicking a goal, and it takes him. Clarko over his whole career has probably looked at building multi-dimensional players that can play different positions on the ground, and you go through our lists, and don't have time. It's another podcast for you, mate. The opportunity to develop multiple strings in the bow. Sicily's one out, able just to get it done wherever he is on the ground. So love him up back, but Scrimshaw stood up tremendously and very quickly last year. So we got Scrimshaw for a steal. I love him. So between DGB, Scrimmer and Sis, we're laughing in that position if they're all up and about and healthy. So I would love the luxury of throwing Sicily forward if we need it.
And it's interesting when you have a look at your sort of list profile, because you're talking about, where Clarko wants players to be, etc. You've got 9 players over 28, which is not too bad. It's not the highest. It's not the lowest. It's actually, if you think about the amount of older players, and Hawthorn keep going, older players, you've actually shaved that down quite a fair bit in the last couple of years.
Wait till Burgoyne goes.
That'll bring your average age down to about 14 and a half.
At the end of this year. So, yeah, Burger's 38.
38 in 4 months.
Doing the miracle work. I love what he's doing on and off the field. He's just a patron in so many, just represents so well.
He does.
So many. So, yeah.
And at the other end of the scale, you've got 15 players who have played 10 games or less. So you've got a lot of... what?
There's excitement amongst that. Go on.
Yeah. But the other thing is... You've only got 12 players on your list that have played more than 100 games.
There you go. Look, and it's pretty, I think, and Jeff Kennett touched on this the other day, I think the caliber of the leadership that we've got amongst that, older, mature end of the list, there's a lot of trust that's gone into them. And we did lose a lot of games and a lot of experience last year. But, yep, after the top-ups, look, the fans, some fans wanted the youth. Some are, in my humble opinion, we're used to success and spoiled, and you want it faster, you want it straight away. But
you do,
you've
because
got to have
that's
enough
what you're used to.
Maturity around those lads coming through to shape it. And DGB trying again. He touched on it's fine to play to your strengths, which he talked about doing in the waffle. But he said now one thing he's learning is how to play within a system and play to his strengths, because if he can minimize the impact of his other player that's next to him. And he talked about Frosty letting him know what for when he perhaps didn't stick to the system. So it's we've got to get that well-oiled machine. It'll be interesting watching how. I just love watching the game and the structures and the running patterns and the shapes, the formations on the field. And so this first 6 games of this year with some rule changes, it'll be interesting to see how a team like Hawthorn responds and how all teams, just from an AFL fan perspective. Yeah.
And what's awesome about it, you mentioned the young kids, like you've got guys under that bracket of 100 games. If I roll through a couple of names, if Hawthorn supporters, if you haven't got a bit of movement going on downstairs when you hear this, nothing will. Sicily, Tom Phillips, who is an absolute bargain for your mob. Blake Hardwick, Tim O'Brien, you've got Daniel Howe, the Warpedo, my goodness, don't start. Harry Morrison, and someone that you've already mentioned, Jack Scrimshaw. I could even throw in James Cousins and Mitchell Lewis if we want to. Goodness gracious, let's throw in Will Day as well. There are just names there that, even though they're young in their careers, they have created a bit of aura about themselves. And that's
here's the youngest mob. Oh, it's amazing. I think within learning that system, Greaves came in just amazing last year. I think it was only 3 games he played. Giles, CJ, not many games, but an excitement machine. And I think he had a cracking off season. He's super fit, won the time trials and showed quite a bit. I think he got 10 intercept marks in the last processing game against North. So I don't think that'll be his role when, say, Scrimshaw or Sicily or DJB, dare I say, are in. But Hanrahan, Moore, there's some young guys there, all under 22. Day, you've mentioned. Day, that's a whole podcast. It is very exciting, the youth and the talent. And I think, do you know what? Will Day, there was an article the other day, he talked about that they're not satisfied. They're not willing to be patient. So we've picked a competitive bunch, and I think, they've got a good combination of some in the mid, but an older age that we're going to, I think it'll really galvanise this year. It's very exciting what the Hawks can do. And Wingard, look, 161 games.
Oh yeah, the Chad. Look, let's be honest. He has been a bit lacking over a couple. Last year, he seemed to jack it up a little bit. Came 3rd in your best and fairest. the J Dog, who's part of my team, who we speak to, he has his opinion on the Chad. What's the Hawks' opinion on the Chad?
Oh, look, and it's a little bit mixed. I think he's very, very competitive, and so he has an incredible talent and X factor that we've had probably not enough consistent glimpses of. It's been more down the glimpse end. It's more than just glimpses, but I think he is driven. I think this year, as far as who's maybe going to cross a line, I think that would be one that we'd all salivate over if he had a consistent year, and I think he would be a nightmare to oppositions.
Because I think that's the thing with him, and it's probably more with a couple like Jarman Impey, another one from a consistency perspective. Good old hand, face in the hands, my man, the Iceman, Sam Frost. Goodness gracious. When he gets the ball, you just do this. Put your hands, because you just don't want to look. It's either going to be lace out at 50 or it's going to be three rows into the base 6 snack bar, because
we love him.
Yeah, and I must admit, I was a little bit frustrated when we got him, because when we let him go. But I'll never forget in the 2018 semi-final, the barrel he launches out of full back. If you can ever get a chance to look against the Hawks, it just clears everyone, goes straight down the middle. Tommy Mack, bang, goal. It's all over.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the injury returns.
The season's over.
And look, and he's one of those young men that I think he's got enough experience, and maybe not young, but yeah, he's talking. He's really owning that in leadership role, I think, from what we're hearing on the training track. Injury returns. Mitchell, 111 games, serious leg break. Impey, 116, I believe it is. With one more off-season under their belts, I expect that'll be part of where the Hawks get a lift this year.
Yeah. Question about Tom Mitchell. And once again, I'm going to put the hard question. Does he get a lot of cheap stats? Like, he racks up his 30s plus like 30 by half time. From an outsider, it looks like he gets a lot of cheapies. Does he get a lot of cheapies, or is that just a reward for all the hard work? And look, I know it's a bit hard being the Hawthorn supporter. You'd obviously might say no, but
I'll be objective.
Are they a little bit? Is there a bit of GST, bit of mayo on these statistics, or is it?
He's a see ball, get ball sort of guy, because he's just a bull. He's just got a hard head, and he won't take a backward step. So he's probably pretty loud as well. Just being in there, he's driven, and so probably gets a few cheapies, if I'm honest. But I think that the key with Mitchell is we haven't cottoned on to the right combination. When Mitchell was out, O'Meara and Warple stepped up. And I don't think we've quite worked out that combination. Yeah, I know.
I love the Warp.
Amazing. Anyway.
That's another podcast for another day. The Warp. I'll tell you what, out of all your list, he's the one that just makes me go, there's a question I'm going to ask you later on, which is, if there was a player that you could take out of any other list and put him into yours, who would it be? I reckon in my top 3 would be that bloke. He is just, he is mint.
Yeah.
Love him. Absolutely love him. All right. Let's have a look into season 2021. So we're heading into it. It starts like literally tomorrow night, which is Saturday night for yourselves. What are you most optimistic about?
The clubs had to regroup, and I think there was for Hawks fans, you will have probably seen this. There's been a marketing department put out a few videos of the players, basically, if I summarize, just saying they weren't satisfied. Last year wasn't up to scratch, and that they're going to go hard. So for mine, that even putting that out there talks about accountability, and hearing, Gil McLaughlin talked about it at this Hawks in Business breakfast. 15 years, the success that the club's had, the values, the governance, right down to the grassroots level, the values that the club runs by. I think that level of accountability and putting the players out there saying this, they're going to bring it. They're going to bring it. So it's, I think from the top down, there's pressure now from these youngsters for the spots. There's a couple of injuries that we've actually had quite a few that have had a little bit of surgery. And so the opportunities, I think you're going to find these youngsters are going to take the opportunity with both hands, and that's going to be very exciting. So I think, we touched on the day, Scrimshaw, Moore, Hanrahan, Greaves, Jive. There's a lot there. Good old DGB. Let's hope before too long he gets in. This week, Cozzy, 6 goals last game, and he's 6'3", he's kicked off 12 possessions. And he's an excitement factor for us because he's been thrown back and forward. And it was about trying to get him to learn the game and observe it from a defensive perspective. This offseason, they've made the call. He's worked closely. We've got Fly McCrane, assistant coach from the Tigers. Huge pickup. So loving that Fly's there. And as a forwards coach, and Sam, they just talked about the consistency of focus on this role now. And as a forward, he's really, he's looking menacing. So I really hope he's debuting this week. He's been in the club 3 years. That's an excitement. We haven't had the tall forward combo that's worked with Patton, Lewis and O'Brien. So that's... Rucks would float in and kick a goal or two, but we just haven't been set, and we were spoiled with Franklin and Roughy for so long. So, some tall forward, if you've got a young fella in Cozzy, and we know his cousin was, the potential there at the Saints. Cozzy, I think he's got a really big motor too. So, yeah, that's I think a real excitement opportunity for us to lift, because we can have some more set forward structures rather than people coming in and out. And I think the midfield, the supply at times last year, we've got that covered a bit more. Downey's in now. He's a ready-made body. You've got Phillips, just coming in.
Oh,
he had a really good.
Is he going to light up the wing from what Isaac Smith is like? Seriously.
Look, we've got
it's going to be hard to replace
a younger
Smith,
version, haven't we?
You've got a younger version of him. I was surprised not as many clubs went after him, especially during the fire sale.
Look, very fortunate.
If you listen to the Collingwood season preview, they were P155 ED that they let him go because they've lost Treloar, they've lost Phillips. They lost. I can't pronounce his name.
Who'd he go to North?
Yeah, what I'm talking about, went to North.
Yeah,
and Stevenson. There's two, and they were all speed. And with the way that the game has been set up, is all about speed.
Yeah, man,
you're going to get hung out a little bit, which is going to make. But that's a shame. It's going to be a shame watching Collingwood get smashed every week.
And again, another. I think. Bringing in a fellow like Philip, he's very grounded. I've heard him speak on a number of times. He's a really great grab, and I think he'll be, a regular for us, no doubt.
Nice.
Excited to watch him.
The concerns. So, it's okay to be happy, yay, but there's going to be some concerns going into the season. Now, the one of the concerns that I can see is where's the scoring power going to come from? Where the goals going to come from? And what I'm putting that on is, yes, you've got absolute Luke Bruce. Like, he might come up in my conversation a little bit later on, but he's PIC partner in crime. Good old Jack Gunston. He's not going to be there for a while due to some back issues.
Yep.
With Sicily out as well, where's the score going to come from, especially, like I said, the first maybe quarter to a third of the season?
Hanrahan's bobbed up with 3 in our first preseason game in the first quarter. And then Tyler Brockman, so bobbed up with 3 last week in the first quarter.
Okay.
So Sam Mitchell really talked Brockman up. I haven't heard Sam talk someone up so much. And he showed, just the tap of the ball, just reminds you, gets you excited. That Cyril Poppy, the arms pumping. And Bruce, we had these brilliant little forwards putting on great pressure. You had 2 of the best, and they're smart. Around.
Yeah, you had 2 of the best and completely different players as well too. You had Errol, as Bruce would say, which says enough. But I think that one guy, he's probably been respected quite a fair bit in Hawthorn land. And I think he's got a lot of respect outside, but mate, is the Poppy. I think you actually are going to miss just the pest that he is around forwards, just being able to create where he can. Cause he's got 3 flags under his name. The guy can play, and he kicked his fair share. And considering where he came from too, like he'd done his time until he got it.
Yep. He worked hard, and look, if there's a chance I get to Adelaide in the coming weeks, Poppy, if you're listening, I'll come and see you at Norwood, mate. So I'd love to have a chat. It's something we do on Talking Hawks. I should have mentioned, Pep. We get some of the former players on the show, and the fans get access on our live stream. So
nice.
Yeah, we'll miss him. I think the small forwards is going to give us, the crumbing and the pressure. I think we're going to see that back again. And look, concerns. Big boy as captain, love it. I would rather see him up forward when he's resting, when he's not in the ruck. And Segler, I think last year was carrying an injury. Don't know that officially. I think that's something we're going to see how that unfolds this year. And the chop out in the ruck, it's just an interesting dynamic and how the game adjusts this year. But that's probably a slight concern to me. But I back our midfielders to read where the ball's coming if the other ruckman's doing well. But Big Boy's got a very accurate goal kicking, accuracy. I said that twice.
Right.
Great kick,
well,
great kick
as
for
good
goal.
as everybody else. Yeah. If you can get a big guy that can kick straight, it's going to be a massive weapon, especially with the lower rotations. Teams are going to have to drop their big bite. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Cozzy will be given a fair shot, and this is something we've seen. Clarko doesn't like just to rush a young fella in and see them, be dropped the next week. He'll give them a good crack, and wouldn't surprise me we've just had the list. Tyler Brockman, Connor Downey, Cozzy, you've heard it here first. Look out for them starting on the ground.
You've heard it
tomorrow night against
first.
the Bombers.
It's going to be interesting. So you've mentioned quite a few names, actually. Quite a lot of names. There's a pile underneath my desk right now of all the names that you have mentioned. And of all the young blokes, and I reckon we might know who this one is. It could be a loaded question, but who is going to be the breakout in 2021 for yourselves? Who's going to be the Hawks player that you go, if you go back to my chat with Peps at the start of the year, I told you this. You should have been.
So you want a youngster?
Who's going to be the breakout? Who's going to be the one that is going to break out for the Hawks this year?
For me, it's a toss-up between Warple and Impey. Okay.
But haven't they already broken out already? When you say
all right,
Warple's...
no, I think they've got another level.
Another level?
Yep. So, all right, going to the youngsters. Oh, look, trying to separate the emotion, and it's hard. I think Cozzy's showing a 6. Cozzy, Kazitsky, Jacob, get on him. I think...
Just say
being able to,
you want to say it.
3 goals.
I know you want to say
it too much. I think that combination with, a Tyler Brockman kicking 3 in a quarter. Hello, just welcome. I think because he was 5 for up to half time. Oh, sorry, in 2 quarters, I think he's kicked 5 goals as well. So, to come home with 6 off 6-3, that's the breakouts for me, Cozzy and Brockman from what we're seeing at this point in the season. But geez, I'm on DGB.
Jeez, I thought you were going to throw Colorado's name in there. Good old Denver Grainger-Barras. I thought he was going to get a Guernsey, but geez.
Oh, look, the DGB train well and truly on it. Nicknamed a hyphen, nicknamed Shaggy. Do you get an acronym before you've even played a game? DGB. I look at that.
I don't know. Look,
we love DGB. So we've got Talking Hawks fans joining us, Pep. We started. It's Talking Hawks Incorporated. We've got a little association. We're basically a club.
Yep.
So we want to put some money back into the club, and we thought one way to do that is to sponsor a player. So not everyone knows about sponsoring players, but basically there's different levels of sponsorship. Yep. The money goes into the club. There's a few different opportunities for fan experiences, and we thought, well, let's just get a little syndicate, for lack of a better word, a little intimate group. We've got an online relationship. Let's take it a little bit offline with those that want to put their hand in their pocket, and not everyone can. But sorry, I've been given the big plug here, but we've fortunate to be able to say, hey, we really like the look of Denver, and so we've got $1,800 raised so far. We're shooting for $4,000. Get on it at talkinghawks.com.
That is said. No, look, that's sensational. That's just that's what the great thing about this whole podcasting, live streaming, everything. It's just there's so much. high level, if you knew, broadcast coverage of the game. It's just people like yourself, like me. We just love footy. We love our teams. And for people to do that, and you're right, not everyone can do it, but it's almost like the ones who can't do it will do it because they just love their club so much. And that's why I keep saying that's why we do what we do. That's why you do it with the boys. That's why I do it with the J-Dog every week, is because we just love talking about our clubs and love talking about the single greatest game in the world. And I don't care if anybody wants to say something different. You're going to be getting into an argument with me and Maddie. Simple as that. Now, we talked about the breakout. Unfortunately, There's somebody who's going to have the breakdown. Whose last season is it? Now, I can think of an obvious one.
Okay.
But who will be the secondary to that? And when I say obvious, I'm only going because of the age factor. It's good old Silk Burgoyne. He'll be pushing 56 by the end of the season, I think, when he finishes up.
Well, he's going to probably, I would say we'll manage him. I've heard a funny story about Silk that they got a new couch, and he's been that meticulous with his body that there was a need to move the couch. He's rung up the club, the whoever was the fitness guru at the time, just to check in if whether he could move it. And I think his missus and somebody else ended up moving. But anyway, we love Bill Silk.
That's not true, is it?
I don't know. He can confirm it, but I think I've heard it on.
I know there were players who were so meticulous with their diet they would pull out a pair of scales at a restaurant to weigh the food. Yeah, I've heard that one before.
Skull Dog was like that. I think meticulous. But anyway, so Burgers, we love him, and I think, unfortunately, I think it's already sort of been put out there softly that this will be his last year, and he's doing some other things behind the scenes at the club already. He's taking on an ambassadorial role or a senior role at AFL level with the Indigenous. So that's, I'd say that's coming. Don't like this one talking breakdown because I always love to believe the best in the boys, but I think sadly probably someone like Brooksby, who's been a journeyman, it will be hard to see him going on beyond this year. And we love Abby. He's I think fiance, Abby Holmes. But yeah, and she's at VFLW with the Hawks now. So and it's nice having a Hawthorn pair. Anyway. We won't go into too much. So that's there we go. I'm getting out of it there. I'm putting the cue in the rack.
I think in the case of Silk, I don't think there's anybody who will look back at him. I think it's funny when you look at all the 400 game players that have made it. KB, Fletch, Tucky, Boomer, and fingers crossed Silk. You could probably look at them and go, they're actually all just good blokes. And, KB was on the front bar the other night and I was in tears just listening to him because he takes the piss out of himself. And they just look like guys that they played footy like they had to play footy, but they just didn't take life too seriously. And Silk's just a guy that'll look at him and go, goodness gracious. Like I remember when he was first coming over to the Hawks and the whole hotel room and how that was all sort of put together and et cetera. And it was like, big shock. He's been sensational.
He came over on one leg, I think some Port fans thought they were offloading, someone that was going to end their career, but it's just the Hawthorn Medigo team, a very, very famous, gets big raps on Talking Hawks. It helps make us a destination club. Jay, others, have come.
Tom Scully, perfect example. Like he was cooked, he was done, and then unfortunately has that ankle injury. And
a few games into that season, though, it wasn't even really playing. I think he was game 2 or 3 even. So done very well.
He's been stiff. All right.
Sorry, Brooksby. I would love to see you get a good crack.
And who's he going? Who's he with? Abby Holmes, is that right? Is that what you said? Yep. We would love to see you stay at the club in an ambassadorial role or whatever. All right.
She's great.
So where are the Hawks going to finish? Let's put the biased not to the side. That's going to happen in a moment. But if we had to put our hearts and make a prediction for the Hawks in 2021, where do you see them finishing at the end of the season?
I will preface this with, I think there's 12 teams that could make the top 8. And we usually time things and come home strong. So how well we start the season will be interesting. But I'll put a number on it. I'm going to give us a ninth.
Oh, I hope so, because that means that Melbourne make the 8 if you've taken our 9th unless we go to 10th. But yeah, look, you do come home quite well. Last year probably was the anomaly to that. I wouldn't claim that, but it was anomaly across the board, etc.
Yep.
But listen, if you speak to other, I think I had you maybe bottom 4, but after chatting with you today, I might have actually got that wrong, because there's just kids I didn't even factor in. And that's the thing. We don't speak about all the other clubs. We know the ones who get all the media time, but we don't know the ones underneath. And
another forward, Jecker. Just he's got a set of mitts on him, and he's bulked right up. So if we're searching for that forward option, he could get a look into. And we've got young ruckman Ned Reeves, who's coming along very nicely. We know that the ruckman take a little bit longer, so I think if he got a crack, that'll be amazing as well. So
but you need a lot of things to go right, don't you? You need because if you lose too much of that experience, like if Silk goes down, you've already got Gunston's out of there. If Shields happens to fall over, that reliance on the younger brigade is going to make it a little bit tougher. And that's just not from a Hawthorn perspective. If you go across the ages and have a look, the younger teams, if there's too many of them, they just can't. And especially with the game going back to the full length quarters, and also with less rotations, it's going to take it out of them when the colder months start to hit. No one wants to be out there running around, and it makes it harder when you're losing. It's not a great place to be. But hey,
it's a year that will galvanise. So how well and it's that combination with the youngsters and how well they fit into the system. I think if they fit in quickly, they'll be hard to push out. So
you've got someone who is steering that ship in the right. Might be a young ship, but geez, you've got the best captain available.
05. It just we were scraping the bottom, when Clarko's come in. So, he gets this, plethora of youth and talent again, and he gets to shape it. So I think he just loves that challenge. And Sam Mitchell back in the fold, who on physical attributes, he just worked hard, and the smarts of the game, I think he'll be imparting a lot. So watch these youngsters, come through rapidly.
Awesome. Okay. Time to put the agates on the chopping board here, Matt, because I'm going to ask you, take the Hawthorn hat off and put just the AFL football perspective at. Who is going to be the premiers of 2021? If it's not going to be Hawthorn, who do you see the one that go, they're looking dangerous?
Yeah, Port Adelaide.
Yep. That's been a very, very common response so far. And like I said, J-Dog has been very, very happy with that response. But if you ask him, he's as nervous as hell, and he hasn't even played a game yet. So who is the Brownlow medalist for 2021?
I think Lachie Neale.
You're going to go back to back? Well, they're going to play a few games up there. Normally when Brisbane win, he plays well.
He might get a few more goal assists with one young Joey Danaher, who's been kept in cotton wool and now is up there firing. And I know some Essendon supporters are spitting chips too. So, yeah.
Well, I've spoken about that too to a couple of Essendon supporters, and also the Essendon podcast. It's interesting, the differences of opinion depending on which side you sit with that. And now that we're talking about it, you brought it up. Who about a Coleman? Who's going to kick the most for the year? Are you going to go with Joey Danaher? Do you think that he? Yep.
Straight off the bat, yep. And I think that's why Lockie's going to look good, because I think he's going to be feeding a few to the big fella. And he's looking very, very good this offseason. So Brisbane bias there, but I see Brisbane being top 4 as well. So
he did look pretty good last week. Not last week, but the first game that they came out and played, he just. Yeah, well, it was exciting. It's going to be awesome. And all the best for him too, because you want to see the good players kicking, and he's capable of not just kicking ones and twos. He can kick bags, this guy. He's just got to get rid of that mo. If you got rid of that mo, I'd take him a little bit more seriously, I think.
And if you're kicking goals, you can look like whatever you want these days.
Exactly. But just don't do it against our teams. Hey? All right. So I've got some quick hands for you. You don't know these questions because I've written these ones up after.
Stitch up.
Yep. Not stitch up, but it's just, off the top of your head. So you've had a lot of them over the last number of years. Who's been your best import player that you've pulled from another club?
Jack Gunston.
Good answer. Okay. Best Hawks player you've ever seen live?
Dermot.
Sensational. All right. Who would you, if you could only have one of the two, who would it be?
Dunstall. Oh, it's so hard between those two. I was there when he kicked 17 goals against the Tigers.
Was it against Richmond or was it against
17-3. Yeah. No, it was against the
and he
Tigers.
had 11 at half time that day too.
My dad was a Richmond supporter.
I would have loved that.
Poor fella. And he took us there and you just had to take your hat off and just watch the,
watch the show.
A lesson. Yes.
We'll never get a day like that again. Hey, who would you take if you could only have one, Hodge or Clarko?
Clarko. Sorry, OG.
No, that's all right.
Come on the show. Come on the show.
He doesn't hear this. All right. Now, if Leigh Matthews is the greatest Hawk, who's the second?
Undisputed. Whoa. Geez, I'm going back to the 70s now.
Can go back if you desire.
80s. I think if you put the numbers up, and there's different ones, different things to enjoy about it, but I'll say Michael Tuck because of his longevity and the number of flags. Who was it in the NFL who just got
Tom Brady?
He's only just caught up to Tucky now, and Tucky played. Anyway, Tucky.
Tucky played 90 odd games in the twos, or 80 to 90 games in the twos, and still came in with 426?
I believe it is.
And the fact that there's not many players that I know and that would wear a long sleeve jumper on grand final day in 31 degrees heat. It's him. He
had a brand.
he had a brand, absolute superstar. And the last one that I have is, or two others, Buddy or Roughy.
Oh, Rough.
Okay, nice, interesting. And if you could take any player from any current team right now and transport them into the Hawthorn side, who would it be?
Geez. I think a Maxi Gawn for a ruck would be a great nab. I don't know if his body's where he's at, but
his body's good.
Or I will. Yeah, well, you
can't have him. You can't have him.
Magic wand, please.
All right, you can have him with the magic wand.
Done.
No, that's all right. No, he's actually pretty good because his first few years he did his knees, so he didn't get the smashing bash for the first few. It was 2015 was when he had his breakout game against Geelong down there, where Melbourne beat Geelong for the first time in goodness knows how many years. So, yeah, absolute star of the game. But who's an absolute star? You're an absolute star. And there's people listening to this going, I tell you what, Talking Hawks, I don't know what I've been missing because don't listen to the official stuff from any of the other mobs. This is the one that I want to get into. Where can they find out more about you? Where can they listen? Where can they watch? This is your time to shine, my friend.
Peps, you're a good man. Thank you. So Linktree, linktr.ee/Talking Hawks. You'll find all of our social media there, or you can go to talkinghawks.com. Websites coming along nicely, but we've got the Denver Grainger-Barras sponsorship on there at the moment on the page, but we've got a lot where we'll be bringing back. We had Campbell Brown, Josh Gibson, Jordan Lewis, Paul Salmon, Dipper. We had some marvelous guests last year for our first year. Tamsin Lewis, cracking Hawthorn athlete, sees the game in a certain way. She was on board quite a bit. So we've loved having some amazing guests. We had Stephen Gillam, premiership player as well. So just this season to cap it off. So we've got a few waiting in the wings. And if you are keen to listen to some Hawks banter, come in, bring your good questions. We just love the Hawks and we love having a good chat. It's for the fans, by the fans, and we're connecting Hawthorn fans around the world with what we're doing. So catch us on YouTube and Facebook. Just search for Talking Hawks.
Now, it's not just you who's part of the show as well, too, mate. You've got your two cohorts as well.
I have cohorts. So we've got my brother, Chris, and a good mate, Brad, and that's where Talking Hawks come from. But we've got Erin as well, who's joined us this year, and she is she's legendary on Twitter. All Hawks fans will, if you're on Twitter, you will know Erin, former journo, and just sees the game very well. And so we all get on there, share our passion. It's great.
So Hawk supporters, as Molly would say, do yourselves a favor, get on Linktree, subscribe to these guys, because they're the ones that are going to keep you in the know. Don't worry about the official stuff that's swept under the carpet. These are the guys you want to be listening to. And also, they're passionate about their club and your club as well, too. So,
Peps, it's been a great show. Thank you very much for joining us. I've really enjoyed the chat. Hopefully, look, Hawks fans, let me know where you disagree. Where did I go wrong? What other questions do you have that Peps covered? What would you love to hear more about? If you liked what Peps, how he covers the game and the team, then mate, join him. Peps, where can one more time? Where can they find Lace Out?
Oh, it's simple. Lace Out. Just look up Lace Out on Spotify. Look up Lace Out on Facebook. Goodness gracious. But more importantly, just throw a message out there. Like, we're on laceoutpodcast@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. 8 p.m. Tuesday nights is when we go live, so you can see us streaming live on Facebook. But yeah, we just love our footy, like Matty does in the crew from your podcast as well. We just love footy. We love the game. We love everything about it. And it's been awesome to have a chat to you tonight about at your club, and also just to talk about our great game. So appreciate it immensely.
Champion Peps, thanks very much. All right, fans, we'll catch you soon.